Hey y'all. Don't look like I'm done crying. Okay, because I told you the first few parts was gonna make my heart beat slow real bad, because it's just like reliving certain stuff. It's intense. Okay, it's intense. I don't even remember the last time I posted about the series. What was it, 7, 9 days ago? Yeah, I needed a break. Okay, because for one, I guess I'm like a 50% crier. Like, I normally don't cry unless something's just do that to me. Okay. Anyway, long story short, this is gonna be an intermission. Okay, and then I have two more parts. I'm gonna go ahead and get everything out the way right now. 7 is the number completion. Yes, I'm big into numerology. If you're not, okay, whatever. Anyway, it's not gonna be no more tears. We're just gonna be talking about, you know, a couple more pillars of pain that won't make me cry when I talk about it. Okay, cool. So, but like I said, this is just intermission. Y'all, why I think that lady had us in a fucking cold. Okay, so this goes back to when we was living in Temple Hills. And this was actually like, what are you eating? Hold on. I swear these cats will really be thinking that I got $3,500 for a blockage surgery. The amount of stuff that they be putting in their mouth, but they got food, snacks, everything, but you want to eat something that don't belong to you. Anywho, this is when we was in Temple Hills, and this was actually one of our neighbors. I remember her name. I think it was, she called herself Prophetess Cece or something like that. Yo, I am. She called herself because, mind you, the woman that gave birth to me, a horrible person, right? And you know what's crazy? I was telling my aunt this on the phone. She got mad at me one day because I said, mind you, just imagine being an avid liar, a thief, just not good people all around, right? And you give birth to somebody that makes you stand on it. Like, that's probably why I was getting my ass beat, because when some people aren't ready to hear some shit, they get angry. Just imagine just the most unaccountable, deflective person ever giving birth to accountability. You're gonna do accountability real down, dirty, and nasty because you don't want to be that, right? I guess that's a decent metaphor. You could way look at it. It's still inexcusable. Okay, I didn't deserve to get treated nowhere near how I got treated. It's just the way that my brain works. I'm like real open ended. Once again, still inexcusable. Nothing about this was correct or right. She was not by far a good maternal figure at all. To this day, this lady living in denial. Okay. Anywho, so it's kind of crazy. Like what I was trying to say, she got mad at me one time because I forgot how old I was when I said this. Because I've literally, this voice, this how I speak. I guess I would say I speak pretty eloquently, right? When I want to. So just imagine speaking like this, but like at the ages of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I was never like a Google Gaga child. Like, I was silent until I was able to audibly understand what was going on and to speak. I'm pretty sure y'all get what I'm saying. To this day, I am not a small talk person. Like, you got a good 3 minutes with me before I disassociate. Get to the point. I was just imagine that in a 5-year-old body. Anyway, I know I was a funny kid. You, like, for real, because I was not for the bullshit from birth. Okay. Anywho, she got mad at me one day because I said, "You remind me of a siren." I came to school. I came from school. We was learning about like mythical creatures or some shit. I said, "You remind me of a siren." Remember, at 8 years old, I told myself and her that I didn't want to be nothing like her when I grew up. And I came home and I said, "You remind me of a siren." She said, "A siren? Why not a mermaid?" I said, "Well, they're both monsters." I said, "Well, they're both monsters." I said, "But the thing about sirens, because one thing about the lady gave birth to me, beautiful on the outside, gorgeous, some may say, right? Just gorgeous, beautiful, has the voice of an angel, can blow the house down. Do you hear me? But on the inside, rotten, dark, nasty. It's kind of crazy, right?" So anyway, I say, "You remind me of a siren because they're known for their voices." But then when they lure you in and get their claws in you, they drag you down to hell. But mind you, I'm just a kid. I know what I'm saying. So don't So I know what I'm saying. But I think the reason why I didn't get my ass beat that time is because I don't think it clicked. But I say, yeah, you remind me of a siren. Because mind you, even from young, like I said, the abuse started very young. And even though I had Stockholm, it's not funny. Even though I had Stockholm, like I was still been able to be realistic. Like I knew what was going on. But it was Stockholm because I never wanted to leave her side. I was just so brainwashed at between the ages of 4, when I started running away, between the ages of 4 and 14. Because when I got to high school, it was like I ain't had no fear in my heart, for real, for nothing. I was leaving, running away, everything. So from 4 to 14, I was just gone mentally. Gone. And then it's something that clicked. I don't know if it was me, because no, I got my first psych when I was 12. So no, I don't know what happened, or I don't know what happened at the age of 14, 15. But I had a fucking enough. Okay, I'm about to give you run for your money now. You still may beat my ass. You still may catch me beat my ass, because I'm not gonna put my hands on you. And the thing about it, it's like, have you ever thought when you was a kid, especially when you was unjustly getting your ass beat, didn't you always be like, oh man, only if you knew that I could really get you together? But anyway, that thought came through my head multiple times. But I never put my hands back with her in retaliation, because it's just like I still had I'm being mistreated, but I still had a sense of respect. Stockholm. Anyway, back to the cult, bitch. Back to the cult. So, like I said, she was just a nasty person, but she just had this thing where she just wanted everybody to believe that she was just this Bible-thumping Christian woman. Long story short, she ended up in a cult, baby. So this lady called herself Prophetess Cece, okay? And she had, I think it was her husband was like, and mind you, I'm not against humble beginning churches. I'm not against that at all. Let's have service in the basement. Who give a fuck? But the teachings were very weird. It gave SDA times 20. No seafood, no fattening red meats, only red lean meats. The body is the temple. We can only pray at this time. We can only do. I'm like, what is this? This ain't Jesus. This is y'all. Like, it just. So let me tell you about the time I got my ass tore out the frame. Because like I said, I've always been vocal, and I've always been inquisitive. I've always asked questions, regardless if it was the right time or not. I didn't have the gift of discernment, when I was younger. It's just like, I have a question, right? So mind you, this lady is teaching us all of their ways, and just a lot of shit just don't make sense. Because mind you, I was raised in an actual church. So in my brain, even though at a young age, I'm just comparing it to, I'm like, this don't make sense. You telling me I can only pray to the God that you telling me about, because this ain't Jesus, the God that you telling me about at this time, and I can only, it just didn't make sense. It was just so stupid. Anywho, it was one time we had went to one of their little gatherings or events. I don't know who house we was at, something. And mind you, in the midst of all of this, I'm still getting my ass beat. Like, you a Bible thumper, but you tearing me off the frame. You treat me real bad. Woo. So they had this van that, people without cause, because Angel had just broke down. Angel was a baby blue, like, hoopty that we had. Angel had just broke down, so we had got on like the little van that they would take us, home with her, because like I said, they were our neighbors at the time. And I said something along the lines of, because it got to a point, because I'm just like, is Jesus real? Because why am I going through this? Right? So I was getting on the van, and I was just like, is Jesus even real? I said something along the lines of, when I tell you that lady snatched me by my hair in front of everybody and wore my ass out like I was a nigga in the street in front of the whole congregation and nobody did nothing. Let's get to part 6. Let's get to part 6. When I tell you we was in a cult, okay, and I think that was that like a last ritual? I don't know what it was, because I literally was asked the question, did God exist? Because I'm over here, you being this way with these people, but behind closed doors, you're a siren, a monster, a criminal. Should have went to jail. Anyway.